Hello, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. I am one of you, and we are having a month ahead of November 2023, where we're going to get some gorgeous love ups in the house of foreign shores and foreign lands, allowing perhaps some wonderful travel opportunities or things to do with success in academia or book publishing, or even just a sense of spiritual oneness or goodness. But also, we're having a big reset button in our career, and it's going to be huge. It's starting in the month of November, but it really goes on for 2 more years. And we're talking about what that looks like for us in November and what it might mean in the long term. So, welcome to my channel. If you're new, I am Lori Luthi, and I'm using Western tropical zodiac whole sign houses, and I delineate with minor asteroids. I'm hoping that you can use this astrology to move forward in your life with ease and flow and some modicum of grace, and see your life in the perspective of where things should go smoothly and avoid the rough patches. That's the value, I hope, of astrology, especially predictive astrology. Now, here's the deal. I have a small promotion to share with you. It's going to be less than 30 seconds, okay? So here we go. One, two, three. I am giving away, no, not giving away. I am doing my 2024 All Signs videos, 12 videos, 75 minutes each, and a PDF document that goes with it. And also you can buy them individually, the bundle or each one. And this is my pre-sale window that starts now. As soon as you see this video online, it's available. And I will have those videos ready by the third week of November at 35% off. This pre-sale window price won't exist anywhere else. Or if you're interested in that kind of content for 2024, it never appears on YouTube. Every year I have private sale for that content. You can just check the description box below, and there you go. You get that content, and you'll probably hopefully enjoy it. Now let's get back to the sky at hand and talk about this month. So, first of all, we Aquarians are getting ready for Pluto moving into the house of us in January, and everything else is a preamble. Everything else is like whatever. Okay, so let's keep our reminder of how powerful that Pluto transit is going to be for us. We are the new Capricorns, right? Capricorns have been there now since 2008. It's our turn, and we can feel the energy building. So with that said, let's move into what's going on in the front ground of that backdrop story. Number one, 3 planets change signs this month. So we're going to do an overview of the month, and then I'm going to do chronology of the month. Those 3 signs that change sign, those 3 planets that change sign means that November feels better than and different than the month that preceded it significantly. And number one, we have both Venus on November 8th and Mercury on November 9th changing signs and remaining in a whole sort of sign flow to each other for the whole month of November, which is very positive. And so for Venus, she's moving into Libra, her home kingdom from her fall in Virgo. And then she's going to do that shift on November the 8th. And then we're going to have Mercury, excuse me while I fix my charts. And then we're going to have Mercury moving into Sagittarius on this sign of his detriment, by the way, on November the 9th. So Mercury, November 9th through to December 1st, Venus, November 8th through to December 4th, are in these 2 new signs. And that forms a very flowing energy for you and me as Aquarius between 9th house matters, okay, and 11th house matters. So friends, allies, and benefactors, Mercury in the 11th house. Greater career gains, money from our career, success from our career, communications from elder siblings and friends in larger groups, a lot of social time with larger groups of people, all Mercury in our 11th house, in a flow state to Venus in the house of foreign travel, foreign shores, academic environments, book publishing, third marriages, spiritual philosophy, and it can really give you a spiritual glow up, this combination. So there's a lot going on here where it feels really good to be you in the month of November. A lot of you will travel. Some of you may actually succeed beyond your dreams in an academic learning environment. Some of you may get a book publishing contract. Some of you may, and a friend is an ally. So the 11th house is like someone who's like a big sibling. People want to treat you like I owe you one. You're, my little sis, my little bro. So favors from those types of people. Just get the details down, because with Mercury in your 11th house, there's a kind of glowy, soft touch, motivational, like the memes, go big or go home, but no instruction manual. So, you might get some bombastic support from some larger social groups or friends, and yet you don't really know what to do with it, or they don't give you the details of how to follow through. I mean, an example could be like you're invited to be a part of a big summit or webinar, and it's about teaching something, not Venus in the 9th, and you can't really figure out where the hell you're supposed to get your content to their assistant, and their assistant falls apart. So there's kind of the potential for confusion here. With Mercury in Sag, it's all good meaning, goodwill, high noble ideals, but not necessarily the details, right? So you'll have to chase those details down, and those kinds of opportunities come to you. Now, with Venus in Libra, she's in her home sign, but I will say she will encounter the South Node along her journey. So sometime closer to about closer to about the first week of December, the very tail end of November. Let's say the last week of November. She's going to have a sort of a sense of having to release, surrender something, and she's kind of diminished in some of her power. So there may be a travel plan, a visa application, a significant development with a third marriage type situation, partnership, that it feels a little bit draining or a little bit down compared to the rest of the month. And that's just a vibe. It doesn't last more than a couple of days, but it's kind of like where you might feel at the end of November some let down energy, and especially if it's about a romance, with a foreigner, foreign shore, or foreign land situation, or visas, legal agreements, passports as well. Venus here is wonderful, wonderfully well placed to be a runway energy. So you may be putting something together that's Libran, like a book or a project or a teaching or a course, and you're trying to get all the things ducks in a row for that, especially with Athena, the goddess of knowledge and wisdom. It's like very booky, very professorial for a lot of Aquarians. And so you may be working on those kinds of projects and trying to get them figured out. And it's not bad to have Venus here because she's really lending you a hand and supporting you to figure out what you need to figure out to get those projects done in the month of November. Now, Mars will change gears and move into Sagittarius. When Mars is in Sagittarius, he's hot-headed, he's a zealot, he's a truth warrior, he's a bit like a crazed, what do you call those guys? Like a religious zealot. There's another word I'm trying to think of. But Mars is in Sagittarius on the 23rd of the month, or the 24th, moving into another sign out of his home kingdom of Scorpio. Now, the Scorpio story is a big deal, so stay tuned for that. That's it when I get down to the details of the month. But here in Sagittarius, Mars is going to cut, sever, and end, if he can, with his sharp sword. Anything in your friendship circles is not good for you. You may cut away a friendship. So a friend may cut away from you. Don't worry about it. It will be the best thing. Casual, larger social network groups, types of friends, or you may exit stage left out of a group or a club of belonging. Mars can make you quite ambitious and driven to succeed in your career in terms of how much gain monetarily you wish to accumulate. So you might be working really hard. When is he here? The 23rd of the month of November through to way down the pipeline, all the way through to January 4th. Because Mars is looking across at the 5th house, or maybe difficult conversations with children, your children, romantic partners, difficult needs to balance or correct something in those relationships during that time, especially regarding your children. Now, as we move forward and talk about the next two lunations, understand that I do full moon videos on these. I mean, two videos on these in the month with a lot more detail, asteroids, stars. So this is going to be the easy peasy version of the two moons. We have a new moon and a full moon. New moon on November 13th in Scorpio. That's your career. There's a new reset button to start a new direction in your career, purpose, and reputation every 2 years. It's here again, November the 13th at 20 degrees of Scorpio. It really applies to 20-degree sun, moon, and rising type people within 3 degrees. You're really changing up. Something new is forming. Something new is happening in your career and reputation space over the 6 months that follows. Second of all, it could be a project. It could be anything, but you're starting something new. But there is a cazimi of Mars in the heart of the sun on November 17th here, and that can very much look like a massive career change in the 2 years that follow. This new moon may be a harbinger of something much, much larger than simply a new project you're going to work on. Now, we'll get to that in more detail in a bit. Secondly, there's a full moon in Gemini at 4 degrees. That Gemini full moon is in your 5th house of children. It's a fullness in the house of children, fertility, pregnancy, creativity, entrepreneurship, romantic love. So there's a full light being shed there. Now, back in June, there was a new moon here. So with your children, your romance, your entrepreneurial life, your creative projects, what was happening in June that you think you might have seeded something in June and July that now is coming to, like, the branches of the tree are bearing fruit and fullness here in your 5th house of the same area. And it may not be about you. There could have been something one of your children was doing, if they're, especially if they're adult children, that's now coming to fruition for them. But it also can be a romantic fruition, or it can be a fullness in the area of a creative project you've been working on, of any kind of art or creativity, or an entrepreneurial fullness. So if you seeded a new entrepreneurial objective or goal or idea back in June, July, which I was doing, that was when I was really diving into the deep code astrology content and I want to create a book, then maybe I'll now have some fruit on the vine here. And for example, just give me as an example, and I'll start to get that thing cobbled together and written. Second of all, the last thing I want to say about this full moon in Gemini, the full moon in Gemini is the kind of thing where if there's a big spotlight in the fifth house, it could really highlight something like a reveal, a showing you a light on your children, a light on your lover, a light on your romantic life, or light on your entrepreneurial life. So look at like a big flashlight in there, especially in the 2 weeks that follow. You may get some really good clarity about those areas of your life. November 27th, add 2 weeks. Now, moving into the order of events, things that unfold during this month. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. I'm ready. Woo! Number 1, November 3rd to 4th, Venus will oppose Neptune. The unicorn rainbow story has mold on it. What happened? Venus is in her fall in your second house, in your 8th house of chunky money, other people's money, taxes, tax situations, insurance payments, insurance structures, credit card debts, opposite Neptune in the house of earnings. Some kind of idea is being, you're disenchanted, you're disillusioned maybe. You may be getting some interesting, unwanted turbulence, and stock investments are here too, so be very careful. But on the other hand, Venus in the 8th house, independent of all of that, is still able to give you some chunky money, but the disillusionment or the mold on it with that Neptune retrograde in the second is something to watch for. So maybe high hopes for something, or wishing for something to work out a certain way financially and not quite seeing it happen the way you imagined on the 3rd and 4th, but not to worry, because on the 6th and 8th to 8th of November, she powers up a trine to Pluto in the house of foreign lands and shores of the 12th house, especially revenue you generate from those foreign places. Also, addictions and self-undoing. So basically, there could be a breakthrough in some issue to do with addictions, especially when I go back to Venus opposite Neptune. You could be struggling to, overcome an addiction of some kind, or a bad habit, or self-undoing, and that kind of thing, about things you put in your mouth. And then there's this disappointment on the 3rd and 4th, and a breakthrough on November 6th and 8th. So, but it can also be money. And when Venus is trining Pluto, power and wealth god in your 12th house from the 8th house of chunky money, something good is trying to happen. So the disappointment or the confusion of November 3rd and 4th will give rise to a solution or a possible culmination of a really good financial restore from the challenge that occurs earlier in the month. November 11th to the 12th is Mars opposite Uranus. Mars is not in bad shape. He's in Scorpio, and Uranus is in Taurus. This is an unexpected surprise or shock or development that you may have not seen happening in your property, home, land, and real estate and sector of the chart, or your domestic and private life. You do have protection from Pluto to the 3rd week of May next year, so it all works out in the end. But you may also have an abundant or surprising new opportunity. Although with Jupiter in retrograde till the end of the year, you may not see the ability to fulfill this opportunity until after the new year begins. But I think with Mars being in dignity, this is also a career opportunity. So getting wind of this sort of surprising development, a little shock and surprise, just maybe feels destabilizing at first, November 11th to 12th, can amplify a successful transition to a better or a powerful career situation as it pertains to your home and home life. On November the 14th to the 21st, Mars is invisible because he's conjunct the sun during most of that time. Now, it's the 17th that he's perfectly conjunct the sun, called a cazimi. He's in the heart of the sun, getting divine mission instructions in his home kingdom, and the solar light of divine will is shining through him. There is something that you're meant to do that has not been your career so far. You are resetting. Go back to 1991. I will be doing my all signs video on this, and you'll want to get into that, because if I look at me as an Aquarius, that's when I stopped working as a journalist and started my path towards being a full-time psychic. So there's some kind of, in the 2 years that followed, that's what I became, a full-time psychic medium, clairvoyant psychic reader. And I was really successful, and a remote viewer. So that was a change that Mars decided in my 10th house back then in this cazimi with the sun. It's back. It's back. So I want you to think about this as a reset button. November 17th, you might want to pray, meditate, or just watch what happens. Sometimes events around a cazimi can give you clues into what direction your life will take. Most of the time, Mars resetting himself in the heart of the sun means an area of your sky for 2 years that will be turbulent until his next synodic reset. Okay, but because he's in his home kingdom, I'm not as worried as I am. You'll see when I talk about the all signs video for this later this month. If you want to get on my bell notification for that, you probably want to hear about that one for sure. But just know that the change is not small, the change is big. And it is about career and maybe home, because on the other side is where you live, home and homeland. Mars will be visible again finally around January 11th in Capricorn. Again, foreign shores and foreign lands are indicated here, or revenue from those places being successful. But I would like to say to you, even though Mars is resetting himself here in your 10th house in November, you won't see any possible clues to what it's about until after January begins, because then we can see him in the sky. On the 20th to the, and he is in a trine to Neptune during that reset. And that suggests positive financial gain from this reset in your career, okay? Like your dream money is coming through, your dream resources, career is coming through. And with Saturn giving you a stability into 26 in your savings and earnings, again, it's a really good money reset as well as a career reset for you as a result of November 17th Cazimi. On the 20th to the 23rd of the month, Mars will sextile Pluto. He is going to do this in the late degrees of the sign of Scorpio. This is Mars powering through with action plans, and yet he's still invisible. So he's planting more seeds and he's giving you direct results. But it's Pluto. What power, what wealth, what transformation is in your life available from the house of the foreigner, the foreign lands, revenue and commerce from foreign shores, and in Indian astrology, a potential move to a foreign shore is for some Aquarians possible, foreign from the place of your birth, or maybe even foreign from wherever you're living now. And finally, and I would also say, with Pluto in that 12th house, a lot of you had enlightenment episodes or spiritual uplifts or deep, deep spiritual transformation since 2008 as Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. You've been totally willing to look under the rock of your soul and see what creepy crawlies are there. A lot of soul work has been going on that's transformed you, and you're getting ready to receive Pluto in January and live with him for 20 years in the house of you. It's a big, big deal. But I would say that Mars is touching down on that Pluto just before he gets to transition in January into Aquarius. And this is like Mars is giving him a good old nudge, don't worry, no matter what happens, we'll work on that career for 2 years while you're in the early degrees of Aquarius. So a lot of your identity and the potency of who you are is in the transformation of a career shift over the next 2 years. Now, I don't know, you're retired, then your visible actions in the world. You're a student, you're a major at school. If people ask me, I don't have a career. Well, you do something in the world, right? You do something everyone witnesses you doing. That's your 10th house, visible status and reputation. Cannot wait to do the big, long, deep dive on YouTube plus a webinar on this in November. I'm so excited by this content. Okay, then on the 24th to the 27th of the month, Mars has moved into Sagittarius. Remember, he's moving in there all the way through to January 4th. And so this is his new zone of influence. So as I said already, it meant cutting friends and changes of friendship groups and all of that. But there's a real gnarly window on the 24th to the 27th where Mars is squaring Saturn, and that's pure frustration. It can be frustration around earnings and money and resources on the 24th to the 27th, and the tension from the house of an elder sibling or friends and groups of friends, or possibly your social life even, that you want to do these big social activities and you're really excited about it. Maybe some of them involve traveling with friends or something like that. But Saturn is in the house of your resources and earnings, and he's putting a huge stop sign up and saying, wait, caution, no. And you will feel a sense of urgency from Mars, but frustration is the ultimate, ideally the ultimate thing that's you're going to experience. Mars could be a passionate friend or ally wanting you to do something exciting, and you're like, oh yeah, it sounds like a good idea. Maybe I'll do it. And Venus is in the house of foreign lands and travel. So again, I'm thinking it could be about trips, but it's just not going to work out somehow, probably to do with timing and your earning structures and your money structures at that time of the 24th to the 27th of November. Just a temporary bit of frustration, guys. It doesn't last forever. Well, anyway, thanks for listening. Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. kind. Don't forget to hit my like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications if you're new. Check out my 2024 all signs down below. Get the pre-sale order in, then you get it delivered at the third week of November. This never goes public, and it's going to go on the general public sale block in the third week of November, but not at a discounted price. So 35% off is very special. It's a big discount, and if you want to get that content for that discount, please try to buy it before the third week of November. The link is in the description box. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful November. It can't be any worse than October, because I'm recording on the 12th. Patreon gets us today, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a really difficult month. Really difficult month. We haven't seen anything yet. That October eclipse with the Israeli story is going to get worse.